Tonight, Saskatchewan's Minister of Education is appointing an administrator to oversee 3 independent schools in the wake of Saskatoon abuse allegations. Also,
it was a pretty crazy thing to see something like that.
More details out of the United States after an Amber Alert ends and the adults are taken into custody. Plus, the Moose Jaw All-Stars are 1 game away from reaching the Little League World Series.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It is Thursday, August 11th, and the CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. Good evening, and thanks for joining us. For the first time in weeks, Saskatchewan's education minister is responding on abuse allegations made by former students at a Saskatoon Christian school. It follows a CBC investigation. Dustin Duncan calls the allegations very troubling, and he says the government is making regulatory changes to increase scrutiny at independent schools. Adam Hunter has the details.
The Minister of Education ended the government's silence more than a week after abuse allegations surfaced from former students at Saskatoon's Legacy Christian Academy.
I'm not a teacher. I've never been a school board trustee, but I'm a parent of 3 kids, and 2 of them are in the school system now. And I want for every student in this province, what I want for my children is what I want for every student in this province as the education minister. The allegations are very troubling.
More than 30 students are alleging abuse. This week, students filed a $25 million class action lawsuit, and Saskatoon police are conducting an investigation. Duncan announced several policy changes which will affect independent schools, and 3 schools in particular. Those schools are Legacy Christian Academy and Grace Christian School in Saskatoon and Region Academy in Prince Albert. Each will have an administrator appointed to oversee it and be subject to unscheduled monthly visits. The schools were selected because they all currently employ someone named in the recent lawsuit by former students.
Should additional information come forward, or depending on the outcome of the police investigation that has been made public, that if further action is required, I will be taking further action.
One of Duncan's options is to put a school on probation. He says he will not close down a school. Another change announced today is that independent schools will have 24 hours to notify the government if a criminal allegation has been levied against them. Duncan says the allegations made by former students are historical in nature and predate 2012 when the government brought in new regulations to increase oversight. He says the allegations will not prompt an investigation by government. Former students say that fails them and current students.
I don't think this is an isolated incident, but I think that this is one there's just mounting evidence that it should not be quite as hard as it seems to be to just freeze the funding and actually do a full investigation of the school.
The opposition says students reached out to Minister Duncan months ago. The government did nothing.
What did he know? When did he know it? What was done? And that's why we continue to call for an independent government inquiry or an independent inquiry into the handling of this by the government.
The Hutchinsons attended Legacy Christian Academy in the 1990s and 2000s and have recently filed police reports.
I would like to see the place closed personally, and that the people who are in charge are not able to have anything to do with education ever again.
The siblings say staff at the school have close ties to government, and they don't expect the changes announced by the Minister of Education to help protect students. Adam Hunter, CBC News, Regina.
Police in Saskatoon have upgraded charges against a man accused of stabbing another man in the head with a screwdriver. Kevin Wichican was originally charged with attempted murder back in June. Now, Wichican is facing a second-degree murder charge. It follows the death of Randy Beauchesne last weekend. Beauchesne's daughter says he was in the cafeteria of Royal University Hospital when a man stabbed him in the head with a screwdriver. Police told us previously they believed it was a case of mistaken identity. The 39-year-old suspect will stay in custody. Beauchesne's killing is now Saskatoon's 7th homicide of the year. We're learning more details about how an Amber Alert ended south of the border yesterday. 2 Saskatchewan children are now safe after their mother and a convicted sex offender was arrested in South Dakota on Tuesday. Aaron Collins has more on how and where the fugitives were caught.
The search for 2 missing Canadian kids ended here. Both children, their mother and her common-law partner found at this South Dakota campground. Mounties had issued an Amber Alert for the group, worried that the children were traveling with this man, 50-year-old Benjamin Moore, previously convicted of inappropriately touching a child and possession of child pornography. Witnesses say Moore and his partner were arrested late Tuesday night.
She had handcuffs on, and then they were actually putting more shackles and chains on her. And then the next thing they did was pull out the boyfriend out of another sheriff's vehicle, and they did the same thing to him, handcuffed him and shackled him up.
This area of South Dakota packed with thousands of visitors attending the Sturgis motorcycle rally this week. Moore may have been working as a security guard in the area. Several U.S. police agencies quickly combed through the crowds to find the group.
They, I think, figured out about the same time we located them that they located us, and where they'd got to their car and was going to leave, but there was a traffic stop made that they were both taken into custody without incident.
It's unclear just how Moore, a convicted sex offender, managed to cross the border to get to this campground. Also unclear why it took days to issue an Amber Alert after police and social services found the kids' home empty. In a press release, Mounties say that they were investigating Moore for an unrelated offense and that the Major Crimes Unit in Saskatchewan continues to look into events leading up to his departure from Canada with his common-law spouse and the 2 children. Moore and his common-law partner remain in custody in the U.S. U.S. immigration officials say he was in the country illegally. Aaron Collins, CBC News, Calgary.
Another plane load of Ukrainians fleeing the war arrived in Regina late last night. The government says more than 1,500 displaced Ukrainians now call Saskatchewan home. As Pratush Dayal reports, they are getting support from people all over the province.
There you go, girls.
It was a busy morning at Baba's Closet in Saskatoon, where many Ukrainian kids picked up their school backpacks.
Go see friends?
The donation center was full of big smiles and lots of excitement as kids strapped on their back-to-school bags.
Yeah, she's really thankful for every help she got here. Yeah.
Oksana Hushlak misses her husband back in leave, but she and her daughters, Maria and Yarna, are getting ready for what's next.
I hope she will like this. She will be ready to school. Hope so.
Are you excited for school?
Are you excited? Ти очікуєш школу?
Yeah.
Baba's Closet has about 300 backpacks to give out to newcomer families from Ukraine. Close to 100 were already snatched up by afternoon.
Yeah, they're inspired and they're really good. They're feeling good, and it is really valuable help for us, as for newcomers, for people who are fleeing from the war in Ukraine. So really valuable help here.
Donovsky's daughter Anastasia is eager to start her grade 9 at Holy Cross School.
Yeah, I really feel excited about it because I'm gonna make new friends and new school. I'm really excited about that.
Yes. Nettie Chernetensky runs the donation center, which gives out household items and furniture to newcomers from Ukraine. Inside these special backpacks, there are gift cards, school supplies, books in Ukrainian and English, and some personal items for the grateful recipients.
They're in tears. They just look at it, and in Ukrainians, дуже гарно, they give me hugs. I give them hugs. It's just thrilling.
Chernetensky says she is thankful to Saskatoon community that has helped with donations since February. But with winters around the corner, she says many families are already making the calls, needing beddings, heavier quilts, thermal-lined jackets and boots. She's planning another similar giveaway this October. Pratush Dayal, CBC News, Saskatoon.
Parents may soon be paying less for childcare in Saskatchewan. The province and federal government have announced a second fee reduction for regulated daycare spaces. The plan will see parent fees drop by September 1st. It's the second recent decrease. It means fees will have gone down an average of 70% compared to last March. It's the latest step toward $10 a day childcare in 2025. The joint government agreement will see an investment of more than $1 billion over 5 years to achieve the goal. Also related to money, there are signs inflation may be easing. In the U.S., the rate has made a modest but better than expected decline. And in Canada, prices for things like lumber and fuel have dropped. So there's hope inflation figures here will be lower when they're released next week. Carl Bax has the details.
Measuring the price of lumber has been painful for anyone building a fence or any home project over the last few years. Lately, though, it's falling.
The lumber prices at their worst were about 300% higher than normal. Now, that was back in March, April of this year. They've softened a little bit and have come back down.
It's not the only place where people are feeling relief from sky-high inflation. A tank of gas has also come down from peaks in the spring. A barrel of oil is down about 20%. It's one of the biggest drivers of inflation, raising the price of just about everything. More hope on the horizon, the possibility of lower prices at the grocery stores. Several crops like canola, corn, and especially wheat are tumbling in value.
We've seen a pretty substantial pullback, probably 25, maybe 30%. Again, varies a little bit by from one crop to the next.
And in real estate, home prices that soared during the pandemic are now sliding. A Vancouver couple bought this Calgary house 6 months ago, but instead of moving in, have decided to sell it. But the market has cooled, so recouping their money won't be easy.
I haven't sold it yet, so it's the same house, different market.
All this is leading to hope that next week's Canadian inflation numbers might show signs of improvement. The federal government says it's encouraged by recent data.
There are big challenges in the global economy, but as a country, we have the strengths, we have the institutions that are going to be able to cope with this, to bring things back into balance.
Still, experts say it's difficult to know whether rampant inflation is over or not. At the very least, there is some reprieve from price tags constantly climbing. Kyle Bax, CBC News, Calgary.
Under a sweltering sun in Calgary this afternoon, the Moose Jaw All-Stars looking to secure their spot in the Little League Championship Final. Team Prairie is getting on the board early against Team Alberta in the first semi-final at Stanley Park today, and from there, it turned into a defensive battle, with Moose Jaw holding on to the 2-1 lead through the fourth inning until Alberta tied it up in the bottom of the fifth. It all came down to an action-packed sixth inning. Calgary West Dinos outfielder making a great grab to keep this one knotted up at 2, but it wasn't to be. Moose Jaw getting on the bats and some savvy base running, scoring them 3 runs before the inning would end. The All-Stars hanging tough in the bottom of the inning, keeping the Dinos at bay, and that means it's the first time in 19 years a team from Moose Jaw is in the Little League Championship Finals. Moose Jaw will face an undefeated Team BC tomorrow at 11 a.m. You can watch online at cbcsports.ca or on CBC television at 2:30. Tomorrow's winner will head to the Little League World Series in Pennsylvania next week. Well, we certainly got a break from the heat today, and that came also with some refreshing rain, but the drops did not deter diehard walkers along Saskatoon's riverbank paths. The smell of fall is certainly in the air across the province. Is it a sign of what's to come this weekend? Ethan's here after the break with a preview. Stay with us. Welcome back. Harvest is about to start in much of the province, and while some areas have been too wet and others too dry, there's another factor making things challenging. Grasshoppers are showing up in droves, and as Ethan Williams reports, the small pests are having a big impact.
On their farm near Woodrow, Dawn and Dolores Fowser can't go far without running into clusters of grasshoppers. And they've not only consumed the couple's harvest-ready canola and durum crops.
They strip the caraganas of their leaves, or look like they do in January right now. And then we went back a few days later, and they were on the evergreens eating needles. So I guess they're getting desperate for food.
They've come as far as the house, eating peony and raspberry plants on the deck and clinging to windows and doors, even showing up inside. And it's not just the Fowsers contending with these critters.
Going into the spring, we did have, significant amount of grasshopper eggs.
Todd Lewis farms just south of Regina. He says the insects are one more problem farmers are coping with this year.
Certainly in areas where it's been dry and the crops are struggling, have been a very big problem and really will continue to be right until what's in the field is taken off and is harvested and put it up into the bins.
Oh, there's a two-stripe male, and you can see how obvious the stripes are.
Provincial entomologist James Tansey says weather conditions last year created a perfect storm for grasshopper growth this year.
And we had a nice warm spring, so that sped them through their development. So we had an early hatch, bit of green feed, so we had a bit of moisture in the spring to spur their feeding and allow further development. And probably most important, a really long, dry, protracted late summer and fall. So there was a really long period for these animals to get eggs into the ground.
Last year, nearly 3,500 grasshoppers were counted at insect survey stations across the prairies, but that count has fluctuated through the years. It was most recently highest in 2016, when nearly 3,800 were counted. While this year's numbers are yet to be determined, the Prairie Pest Monitoring Network says grasshopper numbers continue to be greatest in southern Saskatchewan, and that egg laying for next year is now beginning. Tansey says many of this year's grasshoppers are still young, and as long as the weather stays dry and warm, they'll continue to thrive. Which means Don and Dolores Fowser will be putting up with the critters for a while longer. Ethan Williams, CBC News, Regina.
This weather update is brought to you by Capital GMC Buick Cadillac, making back to busy easy.
Oh, grasshoppers are so gross, but hopping into the weekend is CBC weather specialist Ethan Williams. How's the weather going to be?
Well, if you're a grasshopper, Sam, might be a little wet and you might not enjoy it too much, but it looks like as we get through the rest of the weekend, those grasshoppers are probably going to be quite happy. Now, as I mentioned in the report there, the grasshoppers are thriving in areas where there are drought and really dry conditions. And as of the end of last month, we are looking at severe drought in places just northeast of Swift Current and southwest of Saskatoon. Still seeing moderate drought in much of west central and southwestern Saskatchewan, and really the geographical half of the south and central region abnormally dry. And there is some good news, though, on the horizon. This is looking forward to the end of the month. Now, of course, this all depends on how much moisture falls and just how much we're going to get over the next couple of weeks here. But it looks like as of August 31st, we are seeing drought actually removed, according to the Canadian Drought Monitor. This is all this area in green here where there is abnormally dry conditions. The yellow is where drought improves, so that could be making a difference over the next couple of weeks. But what's not helping things is these really hot conditions in the southwest part of the province, still close to 35 degrees at nearly 6:15. 34 right now in Leader and Maple Creek, but rain has cooled the air east of there, and it's really inhibited temperatures from getting very high. Regina, only 19, Yorkton, 17 at this point. And it looks like those heat warnings are going to remain in place for the southwest, where that heat is still in place right now. Places like Swift Current and Gull Lake, Leader, all the way down to the Cypress Hills area. You could be seeing this trend continue through the rest of the week. Now look at that. Isn't that good timing? Severe thunderstorm watch just popped up right now for what I believe is the Kindersley-Rosetown area. And wouldn't you know it, I just didn't have time to change my system quick enough. But Lloydminster is under the severe thunderstorm watch as well, and that is because of this. Yes, it is Kindersley-Rosetown. We do have a severe thunderstorm warning now in Alberta for this cell making its way east. Bands of showers that were cooling the air a little earlier this afternoon in Regina and southeastern Saskatchewan beginning to move out. But this cold front is what's triggering off those storms, and that'll move southward overnight tonight. Some showers and thunderstorms possible through the evening. As you just saw there, some of them could be severe, especially around Kindersley and Rosetown. Tomorrow afternoon, thunderstorms are possible again, but a sunnier day, I think, for most of us. We'll see those showers through the night. And then Saturday, a low-pressure system starts to interact with the moisture and the high humidex values, and we start to get some potentially stormy weather on Saturday. Wind gusts have been breezy, especially in the eastern half of the region today. We will see those die down over the next couple of days. Actually, wind gusts not too bad, despite the fact that we are seeing that low move in. Regina, storms again possible the next couple of days. Look at those high humidex values. We dry out and see more normal conditions getting into next week. Saskatoon, stormier conditions as well. But if you are a grasshopper, Sam, you're going to be happy about the rest of the week because it looks like it'll be nice and dry.
Thankful I'm not a grasshopper. Thanks, Ethan.
You bet.
Lego is marking a big milestone. The Danish toy maker celebrated its 90th birthday with a massive cake created, of course, from Lego blocks. Nearly 100,000 pieces were used. We'll be back after the break. An extreme heat warning has come into effect in parts of the United Kingdom today for the next 4 days. It's now at its second most severe level. Temperatures are expected to hit upper 30s in some areas.
Try and stay inside as much as possible, not get sunburned, use sunscreen, all the guidelines that they recommend.
Health warnings have been issued for most of South and Central England. Soaring temperatures have triggered the highest alert for fires into the weekend. Officials are warning there's an exceptional risk of wildfires spreading in parts of Britain. The latest sweltering weather comes after last month's record-breaking heat wave when the mercury topped 40 degrees Celsius for the first time ever. And Ethan is back with one last look at tonight's weather.
Yeah, not extreme like they're seeing in Britain, Sam, maybe in some parts of the province. But in Regina overnight, we're looking at 18 degrees, mainly clear. Those winds starting to die down, showers probably dropping off. A mostly sunny morning tomorrow, different compared to this morning for sure. We will see southeast wind gusts die down to around 20 kilometers an hour, and those won't go anywhere as we head to the noon hour. We'll be at a pleasant 27 degrees, but keep in mind that humidex value making it feel into the 30s likely by that point. Also 18 at midnight in Saskatoon, some partly cloudy conditions. We will get to 8 a.m. already 17 degrees, mainly sunny skies. Nice light northeast winds, and we get to sunny skies at noon, Sam, and it looks like 24 degrees, and again, going to feel a lot warmer than that, though. With
the Goldilocks kind of day, Ethan. Thank you.
You bet.
And before we leave you tonight, the Royal Canadian Mint is issuing a new coin celebrating jazz music legend Oscar Peterson. The $1 coin was unveiled this morning and goes into circulation on Monday. The ceremony was attended by Peterson's widow, his son and daughter, and Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland. Born in Montreal in 1925, Peterson is widely regarded as one of the most notable jazz pianists of his generation. His career spanned 60 years, and he won numerous Juno and Grammy Awards. Peterson was inducted into the Canadian Music Hall of Fame. He died in 2007 at the age of 82. Certainly we'll be watching for one of those in my change. That is it for us tonight. For News Anytime, you can always head to our website or the YouTube channel. Natasha Lipney and Ethan will be back with more local news and weather at 11. Thanks for watching, and have a great night.